Hey guys, Uncle Ray. Welcome to another episode of the Crypto Bellwether. I don't always tell you what you want to hear, but I tell you what you need to hear to make informed decisions. Now, I meant what I said in that thumbnail to the XRP Army. This might be one of the most important videos you've ever watched, because I'm going to answer the question that, quite frankly, I haven't heard anyone ask in the XRP community. And that question is, what is the competition, or what about the dominant players in banking and in the flow of money? What do they have to say about Ripple, for instance, taking over banking, or the whole world running on XRP rails? What is their game plan? Because guys, I'm here to tell you from a third party and just giving you information that the power players of the world that dominate the flow of money, like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, not only are they going to keep the lion's share, they're going to gain ground. They're not going to lose it to small corporations like Ripple. Now, that's not an insult on Ripple. I own XRP. I admire everything that Brad and David are doing. But when it comes to banking, guys, they're not even 1% of banking. So to think that they are going to go from not owning one or not dominating 1% of banking to dominating 99% of banking, it's not going to happen. So for me, I follow the power players in banking. I follow the people and the corporations and the banks that control the flow of money today. And I follow what they are going to do in the future and what they're doing about cross-border payments, this new technology, banking, DeFi, you name it. I follow that money. And the reason I do that is I want to front run what they do. Because whether we like it or not, guys, it really doesn't matter what we think is the best tech or what blockchain we like the most. Because if every person watching this video times 1,000 put every penny they have into, say, Ethereum, it wouldn't move it maybe 1% for a couple of hours. That's it. But when the power players like the governments and the pension plans and Wall Street, when they roll into a project that they endorse, that thing's going to move and it's going to be successful. Those are the tokens that are going to pump. Because honestly, outside of meme coins, retail doesn't pump any real world utility type token. So we're going to dive into this, and we're going to talk about a third party source that is very reliable, and they're going to talk about R3 and Ripple, and you can hear from them what's going on in banking, not from me. And then we're going to kind of look at some of the competition, just a little bit of the competition that's going to make you think probably different about where Ripple's role in banking is. Now, if nothing else, in this video, hopefully it gives you the thoughts to maybe dive in to more information about what the competition is going to do in the future of banking and Web3 and tokenized assets and all that stuff. Because unfortunately, guys, in the XRP community, there are a lot of creators and influencers that absolutely don't have a clue. They don't understand tokenomics. They don't understand supply and demand. They obviously can't do math. And they haven't spent any time doing research on the competitors. I would care to bet that the majority of the hyped up influencers, and I'm sure you know a lot of who I'm talking about, if you ask them who dominates cross-border payments right now, who dominates the flow of money right now, they wouldn't have a clue. But yet they're going to tell you who is going to overtake that. Guys, those are not people you need to listen to. But anyway, let's dive into it, guys. And one thing before we do, I'm working with people one-on-one, and if you think you need a game plan for your portfolio and try how to best capitalize on what's coming down the pipe and how to cut through the FUD and all that and the FOMO, I'm working with people one-on-one, and we'll talk about that at the end of the video. Now, let's dive into it. What you're looking at on the screen is an article from American Banker. Now think about it, guys. When I talk about doing research, see, I do research on all the competition, on everything I can get my hands on, good, bad, or ugly, when it comes to banking. Everything to do with SWIFT and all the projects. I want to dive deep into all that, and I'm non-biased. How many creators do you think that are pumping, for instance, XRP, read the American Banker? This is a newsletter for the Banking Association of America for the most part. They're non-biased. They're not trying to pump a token. They could care less about Web3 or blockchain. This is just to give information to people inside of banking primarily. Now, I'm going to read some parts of a letter or a newsletter that American Banker wrote. And I'll leave a link down below if you want to read the entire thing, and I highly recommend it. But again, don't listen to me when I tell you who's going to dominate banking. Let's hear it from an insider. It says, U.S. banks give multi-bank blockchains another try. Now, this article is about 1.5 years old, and a lot has changed since then. Now, it says, about 5 years ago, U.S. banks began talking to organizations like R3, Ripple, and Digital Asset Holdings, and the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance about developing shared digital ledgers that would make the banks more efficient and help them work with one another for cross-border payments and other purposes. But then most U.S. banks quietly backed away from these projects. Some thought it was too hard to co-own blockchains where everyone, no matter the bank size, had an equal say. A second stumbling block was banks were reluctant to let rivals see their customers, their transactions, and deal with their data. Now, see, guys, that's one thing that is people never calculate. Ripple is seen as a rival, not only in banking, but all the entities that control banking right now. They have a ton of competitors. And whether Ripple has better technology or whatever their benefits are, they probably don't outweigh the risk of getting involved with a competitor. So what they want to do, and this is documented 1,000 different ways, is they want to basically clone or create everything that they need from the new corporations and the new tech that's out there. Quite frankly, I truly believe that the banks and Wall Street and the government got together and weaponized the SEC to slow Ripple down. Guys, the most powerful entities in the world pretty much are the banks and like the people that control money. They are not going to give that up because you have a little bit better technology. Most people don't know this. I'll just give you an example. Electric cars came out in like 1946, I believe it was. And guess what happened? One of the big car makers, and I don't remember who, like GM, bought the patent and put it on the desk for 20-something years. The technology's been around forever. Didn't go anywhere. Tech is kind of irrelevant if it doesn't come from the power players, because they're going to shut it down, guys. That's the way the world works. Anyway, let's dive into some more things that they say. They talk about how the banks got together and they are using Providence Blockchain, which I did multiple videos on, and Providence was built on top of Cosmos. I did a thing saying that Cosmos was one of the best banking tokens out there months ago, and people literally laughed at me because, again, they spend zero time investigating what's going on in banking and where the competition is. Well, I'm here to tell you, Providence Blockchain has been slowly doing like a grassroots type project, linking a lot of your rural area banks together. But when you add them up, they become a powerhouse. So it talked about that was one of the new avenues the American banks are using. Then it talks about Tassat. I just did a video on Tassat if you want to know more, and I'll leave a link down below. Well, Tassat, to simplify it, guys, created a blockchain. It's a fork of Ethereum. And what they did, their game plan, now think about this, you being a bank. You have new technology that is threatening everything you have. They come in and say, hey, use us. Let us be a part of you, right? But you know, not only are they competitors, they might be able to make you obsolete. So some of them, we're looking at entities like R3 and Ripple, obviously. But then Tassat stepped in and said, hey, I'm going to set you up with your own private blockchain. It's kind of like a white label project. We're going to give you all the tech. We're going to allow you to do cross-border payments and DeFi and everything that all this new tech makes possible. We're going to do that for you. And we're not going to change you. We're not trying to compete with you. They coined the quote, we are going to disrupt the disruptors. And guys, that's exactly what they're going to do. Now stay with me. So Tassat is a powerhouse. Now this is like a year and a half old, guys. They are 10x more down the road of their game plan than they were when this article was written. Now it talks about how each bank is going to create its own permission private blockchain, and then they're going to tie everything in together in America, and then they'll go global. That's their big picture. Now, it's not all bad. If you own the banking tokens that you're thinking about, like I do, like HBAR and Algorand and XLM and XRP, guys, this is not bad news. I want you to own those. Well, let's back up. I didn't mean to say that. If you own those tokens, you should own them for the right reasons and know what you're dealing with. I own those tokens. I'm not running out to sell them. I'm very positive about their future. But it's for entirely different reasons. It's based on merit and facts of what I see, not hype of, for instance, they're going to flip a switch and I get a jet. That's BS, guys. Anyway, bear with me. So it goes down through here. Then they quote the CEO of Tassat. It says, we're creating an ecosystem of bank partners that want to participate in this network in the coming months. Well, guys, I'm here to tell you, in that 18 months that's passed, I can't even count, and I don't know how to find out that information and how many banks have joined, but it's massive because they've created an entirely new network to link those banks together, and we'll talk about that as well. Anyway, it talked about how a lot of things were holding them back were stable coins. I think it's a direct mention of XRP, even though they didn't mention the token itself. But they said one of the biggest reasons they didn't like doing cross-border payments with tokens were because they're volatile. And they didn't want anything to do with the volatile token. And now they're mentioning, well, now they can do it with stable coins, and that makes the banks feel more comfortable. And then it also says regulation and compliance. It talks about that. Well, guys, this Tassat ecosystem is 100% in compliance with the SEC and the FDIC backs it. It's insured. Nothing they do is outside of the scope of what they do now. They have just brought Web 2 and the old way of banking and doing cross-border payments and all that into the future. That's what they are in the process of doing. And basically, they're doing it with the new technology that they can control. But this technology, guys, when you dive into their roadmap and some of the other ones I'm going to share with you, their tech and their roadmap is just as good or better than any of the competition out there. They will control and not lose their dominant place in global banking. It's not going to happen. Let's see something out. There's one other thing I really want to share with you, and then we'll move on. And I'll leave a link down below, like I said. You can read this. But check this out. This is another thing they mentioned in this article. It said a network like the one Tassat is looking to develop, and it's already developed, like I said, it's old, would give small and mid-sized banks the opportunity to compete in this ever-changing financial landscape. Some earlier multi-bank blockchain plans by players like R3 and Ripple were too grand. It says they were trying to bring all the banks together at the top. In the approach Tassat has taken, each bank starts with a private blockchain designed to meet clients' needs and immediately begins allowing real-time payments in a regulatory compliant manner. However, as time progresses, as this ecosystems grow, then the opportunity to connect with other banks will arise. Well, guys, that's where they're at right now. And when you add in the Fed now, which is how I found Tassat, because in their paperwork, even though Tassat is a blockchain and it is not affiliated directly with the Fed is a closed loop system. But that interoperability and that onboarding, which, guys, every corporation, every major player in the bank, they're all going to be tied to the Fed now, and a lot of global entities and banks will too. If you're going to accept money from the Fed in the future, you're going to be tied in. They recommended Tassat to help onboard you and give you guidance. That being said, they recommend over 200, but Tassat was on in a conversation. It wasn't on the list of all the other ones. So that got me going down the rabbit hole. Then I found out what they're up to. Now, go to their website and check it out. But here's the network. It's called the Digital Interbank Network. Now, while I'm thinking about it, I just want to tell you, Quant is a big part of this. Not directly, but I know, I just read a podcast or watched a podcast where Quant is working with 12 Latin countries to create their digital dollar to be part of the interbank network. And their partnership with those Latin America countries with Quant is not like a test or any of that. They basically partner with Quant and said, get it done. We want to be part of the digital interbank network, and Quant's going to make that interoperability happen. And we'll touch base on Quant again at the end. Now, go to interbanknetwork.com. Surf around, guys. If this doesn't convince you that the power players are still in control, I don't know what will. Now it says the Digital Interbank Network is the world's first blockchain-based real-time B2B payments network operating entirely within the existing regulatory framework of the U.S. banking system. Guys, think about it. Ripple has issues. I truly believe that it's not Gary. Gary is just the tip of the sword, right? He is the face of what's going on behind the scenes. The U.S. governments, the central banks, Wall Street, they're the ones that weaponized the SEC. I truly believe, guys, until all this stuff's in place, Ripple's going to be held back. They're going to be in court until the entities that really run the world, right, until they have things in place and Ripple is irrelevant, then they'll let them go. Now, I hate to say that, guys. That's unfair, but that's how the world works. So if any of you guys watching believe that the entities that had the power to call the White House and literally weaponize the SEC, if you think that Ripple is going to overtake them and be more powerful than those entities, I say that with love, guys, but you got to think long and hard about that process. Now it talks about the network is comprised of the FDIC insured banks transacting real-time payments and performing other banking services between their corporate clients 24/7, 365 a year. Private permission blockchain. Then it says the network enables banks to offer a virtually unlimited range of secure, real-time services to their corporate clients, including instantaneous blockchain-based payments, Fedwire integration, and smart contracts. Guys, I could go on and on. But see, this is an information that's out there. No one is talking about that. And that's why they say stuff that like XRP is going to rule the world and all that crazy stuff. Well, if they go do some homework like this, and guys, share this with people so people will be able to make better decisions. And whether you agree with the way I see this or not, at least you'll have both sides of the story. And it talks about where they're founded, but check this out, guys. They've done 1 trillion transactions already. Think about it, guys. That's absolutely massive. I don't know of any other blockchain that has even come close to that. Last I checked, for instance, Ripple has done, I believe, 20 million transactions. Now, who else is out there? Well, Goldman Sachs. Well, go to their website, guys, and look at what they're doing with tokenized assets and how they're doing things with the banks. They're a power player too. They're not on the JP Morgan level, but they're up there, and they're one of the most powerful banking firms in the world. But look at their partners. KPMG, JP Morgan has a partner, Samsung, Intellect, Goldman, well, that is Goldman Sachs. But guys, Goldman Sachs and Citibank and Accenture, NASDAQ, guys, they all have private blockchains and they're tying everything in together. I see it every day. And in the big picture, they are all going to have private blockchains, and they are working together to not have to use tokens and not allow anyone that is not in the good old boys club to penetrate their ecosystem. Now, yeah, all the new technology and a lot of the new players, guys, they're going to get their share. So don't get discouraged on that. But when you hear stuff like Jamie Dimon with JP Morgan keep pounding that blockchain is great, but crypto is horrible, that's where they're trying to push everything, guys. They're trying to push like all the tokenized assets and all that to be on their blockchains where you don't have to use a token. And if you do, you'll be using their tokens. I truly believe that's where they're trying to go. And while I'm thinking about it, for the people that really just want more information, one thing I've been seeing is when they're tokenizing these assets, they keep calling them securities. And they're going to tokenize the securities, but I think they want them to be under the infrastructure of being called a security. Therefore, Wall Street the powers that control the stock market will be in control of all that flow of money. It won't be separated. And another thing I'm seeing, and it's early, and I'm just putting the pieces together. This is not factual, but I keep hearing this terminology that keeps saying, what's the word? God almighty, I can't think of it. When a country is sovereign money and unsovereign, and what they're getting to is Bitcoin. They're saying, look, the US dollar, right, and these stable coins, they're solvent. They were backed by the US government, for instance, whereas Bitcoin isn't. So that's how they're going to try to attack Bitcoin. I truly believe that. They may even make that legislation that you can't use unsolvent type money. Could be wrong, but I keep hearing it, and that's the way it goes. You keep hearing these little sayings like Jamie Dimon talking about crypto's bad, but blockchain's great. There's a reason they keep just pushing that out there. They have a big time roadmap. Now, just to show you some of the things that's going on, no one ever wants to talk about, of the competition. Goldman Sachs invest in blockchain cross-border payment startup Veeam, right? Well, that's just one of the many players. But as I know, there's going to be people in the XRP Army go, Veeam is a Ripple partner. Absolutely. And see, here's the difference, guys. When I hear Ripple partner, most of the time, at least 75% of the time, has nothing to do with pumping the token. But I dig in so I can find the information of just how important that announcement is. And it's not there, it's right here. Bear with me. So when I dug into it, I found out this information. And it says that, and it talks about in this, I found this article, and it says that during the Swell Conference announcement, Veeam will use XRP. Oh my God, see? Right? That's the competitor using XRP. But then it says as one of the payment options alongside Bitcoin. This is an old article, guys. Now they have multiple tokens they can use with Veeam. See how that misinformation works, guys? People tie it in when they hear Ripple has a partnership with JP Morgan or Citibank or MasterCard. Guys, it's not for the dominant rails of the world. It's for the areas that they need to use XRP. It complements, or it's easier or cheaper, or there's a reason they do that. But it is a small piece of the pie every time. Now granted, that's where XRP is going to get their share. It's a lot of little pieces of pie. But that does not equate to the lion's share in XRP hitting those bizarre, uneducated numbers like 589 or 1,000 or much less 10,000. Now, let's talk about the real elephant in the room. And guys, whether you like it or not, and I quite frankly don't like anything about JP Morgan, especially Jamie Dimon. But guys, when you look into their roadmap and their partnerships and what they're up to, it's absolutely dwarfs everything Ripple is doing. And again, guys, that's not an insult to Ripple. All corporations and all people in the world, there's a pecking order. We all have our place of where we are. That doesn't mean they can't go up and move up. But guys, you don't go from the bottom of the totem pole to the top. Especially as you go up, they get more powerful and more powerful. But I'm going to walk you through some of that stuff, and you use this information, because no one that I know has ever looked you in the eye on this screen and said, hey, let's compare what Ripple's doing compared to, say, JP Morgan. Well, this is an old article, but it says JP Morgan releases unlocking 120 billion in cross-border payments report. Now that was years ago, like 2 years ago. JP Morgan to take on Industrial and Commercial Bank of China. Now here's a fact that people don't know. Who do you think is the biggest bank in the world? Well, it's not JP Morgan. It's actually this bank, the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China. However, they're not far behind, and JP Morgan definitely controls more of the money flow. And that's what it matters. And no matter what, because they're connected to the U.S. government as far as their political power, they by far, in my opinion, are more dominant in the marketplace. Right now, for instance, just one little branch of their private blockchain, they are doing over $1 billion a day of basically cross-border payments in and out of the repo market. Think about it, guys. $1 billion a day, and that's that much of what their blockchain is doing. Now, Industrial and Commercial Bank of China submits 41 blockchain patents. I've done multiple videos talking about China's plan to dominate cross-border payments, to dominate basically crypto and the metaverse and everything. Right, guys? Everyone has a plan. But unfortunately for the crypto community, you got these biased influencers that are tribal. They don't tell you all the other competition's plans. Well, that's what I'm telling you. I don't know what all China has in store to dominate cross-border payments, but I know it doesn't include Ripple. So for whatever that's worth, that's another challenger. And you can, guys, I could go on and on and on for hours about the top of the food chain, what they're doing to keep their lion's share. Now this is another article. Bank-based blockchains are multiplying like rabbits. This is the Payments Journal. This isn't clickbait. This is a business professional journal. And obviously this article is about JP Morgan and how they're bringing blockchain to their customers around the world. Now, and again, guys, I'm not shilling JP Morgan. This is just information. And I know a lot of you don't want to hear it. But again, you need to hear this stuff. Let's talk about how powerful they are. 7 companies owned by JP Morgan Chase and Companies. Guys, this list talks about the JP Morgan Company, the Manhattan Corporation, Bank One, that's a chain of banks. Bear Stearns, I didn't even know this. I used to work for Bear Stearns. They're still a real entity because JP Morgan bought them out in like 2008. But apparently it talks about like in 2017, they had to pay some big fines. So apparently, I guess they're still alive and kicking, but they just merged and maybe they kept the corporation. I don't know, which is really irrelevant. But guys, when you look at these powerhouse corporations right here on this list, I mean, they're massive, massive payments, healthcares, banks. They own WePay. WePay alone is a challenger to Ripple XRP. Now, this shows, you know, JP Morgan bought WePay. Now, for whatever this is worth, guys, and this is old. This is like 2007. But I just want you to just wrap your head around how powerful, and I mean powerful, entities like JP Morgan is. And they're not the only one in banking. There's a lot of them. And right now, they have joined forces to keep what they got. Guys, they don't want any new players. They may allow some to come in so that they can get information, hobnob with them, whatever. But it's not easy to penetrate that good old boys club, so to speak. But these are some subsidiaries that they own. Look at the percent that they own. It's like 100%, 99%, 80%. Like it's 100% of most of these. But look at what they are. One Capital Holdings, Bank One Deferred Benefits, Bank of Financial LLC, J.P. Morgan's Housing Limited Partnership, Bank One Kentucky Insurance Company, BOI Leasing Corp, Chase Capital Holdings. Guys, it goes on and on and on for pages. Look at all these pages, guys. These are major corporations, major entities, hedge funds, you name it. It's major entities in the world of payments and the flow of money. And it's pages, guys. Pages after pages. Energy companies, hospitals, you name it. They own entities all over the world. Guys, no one understands how connected they are. Because a bank like J.P. Morgan is not like my bank, Regions Bank. Regions Bank might have a partnership or relationship, say, with Coca-Cola. And they may have 100 different accounts with Coca-Cola. But Coca-Cola's portfolio sits with like the JP Morgans or the Goldman Sachs of the world, right? Their portfolio, their real money. When they do a cross-border payment across the world, you can bet that money is coming from like JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs for that cross-border payment. But guys, it's endless. Look at the pages, right? It's endless. And somewhere in this paperwork, and guys, I wish I could keep track of it better, it talked about one of the entities, the banks that they're partners in, goes back to like 1819, and that is where the Queen of England and do their banking. Guys, I'm telling you, the powerhouses of the world is the money you want to follow. Now, this didn't come out like I really wanted it to, guys, but I just want to, if nothing else, to open your eyes that when you hear really, really naive things like the whole world's going to run on Ripple and XRP rails and they're going to take over Swift and they're going to take over banking, guys, that is an absolute naive joke, and those people are going to get you wrecked. Now, I hope all of you guys have a game plan to capitalize on the next bull run. If you don't, and you need some help, I'm working with people one-on-one. It's $250, and we'll have 3 to 5 different sessions, and my goal is not financial advice. What it is to get you a roadmap and a plan of attack of how to situate your portfolio, how to cut through the FUD and the FOMO, whether you should dollar cost average in, dollar cost average out, give you a roadmap and some rules to live by that you can grow your knowledge and your portfolio with. As I'm here to tell you guys, I've learned a lot working with people one-on-one, and one of the biggest things that I had no idea that I was going to witness is that they haven't taken their profits. And there is nothing more heartbreaking for someone to turn a small amount of money into a massive amount of money and watch it come crumbling down because they believe the FOMO, right? Imagine turning, say, $10,000 into $500,000 and Bitcoin's at 70,000 and the whole world is telling you it's going to 100,000, it's going to $250,000, which is a true scenario that I've seen over and over with the people I work for, and then it pulled back. They started adding money. That's a very common thing. And then it pulls back, and all of a sudden we're in a bear market, and they're setting way back. Well, if they'd had a better plan of attack, and I say that with love, and the reason I'm sharing this is hopefully we can use that knowledge to educate everyone. But guys, if you start dollar cost averaging out, no matter what, it's going to be a very good bull run. Yes, you're going to leave money on the table, but you got to have a game plan. And there's another thing, guys, for whatever this is worth. If you look at any chart out there, any chart, no matter what project it is or token, it pumps and pumps and pumps and it spikes and it's over. Guys, it doesn't go up for months and months and months and then just stay there, right? It's not going to give you time to decide. I'm here to tell you as a friend, this is not financial advice, this is just friendly advice, worldly advice. Guys, if you don't take your profits, it's going to be a long, long, painful road. I urge you to get a plan. Anyway, I'll leave the link down below and I'll leave it in the description. I'll leave it in the description and I'll pin it in the comment section. If you want to reach out, please do so. I'll leave my email. That being said, guys, I know this is hurting a lot of people and it's going to tick a lot of people off. But you shouldn't be mad at me if the people hadn't been lying to you over and over and over. And if they would have told you about tokenomics and they would show you what the competition is up to, this wouldn't trigger you. You would already know it. I want to encourage you to call people out. These influencers bring people on their show and they say really, really bizarre stuff like XRP's going to 1,000 or 10,000 or 50,000, and then they just do the circuit, right? Well, when they come on my show, which, guys, I've offered a lot of them to do, and they won't do it. But if they ever come on my show and say something as stupid as XRP's going to 10,000, well, they're going to have to justify that math. Because last thing I'll tell you, just so you guys to put it in perspective will know, one $10,000 XRP will make Ripple more powerful than Tesla, Coca-Cola, Walmart, Kmart, Microsoft, Apple, GM, Ford. Guys, the top 50 to 100 corporations in the world, Ripple would be more valuable than all of them combined at $10,000. That's how powerful 50 billion tokens times something is. And guys, you don't multiply 50 billion and the entire tokenomics of it is 100 billion. I'm just using Ripple's share because that's what their value would stem from, right? Just like ours. If you own $1,000 worth of XRP and every token is worth $10,000, do the math. A lot of people are going to tell you that's not how it works, that doesn't make any sense. And guys, no, it doesn't work exactly that way. Ripple can't run out and dump 50 billion tokens in a day because there won't be enough volatility to get our liquidity. But they can dump 1 billion tokens a month, day in, day out, every month for a year. That's 12 billion tokens a year added to the supply. What do you think will happen then? Anyway, guys, I know I'm rambling on. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Please share this video. Hopefully it just gets you thinking. That's all I want for you guys. I just want you to go down the rabbit hole, do your own research, and just consider what the competition is doing. Hit that like button, share, come back, be part of this community, because guys, I got you back. Take care.